Hello and welcome to Attacking Third's continued coverage of UEFA Euro 2025. I'm Sandra Herrera alongside internationals Kelly O'Hara, Jen Beattie, and Christine Cupo. We want to thank y'all for joining us here at Attacking Third, whether you're joining us live on YouTube or just listening to us as a podcast. We're just happy that you're here. And let us know that you're here because we see you in the chat. We know you've got feelings about this upcoming 2025 Euro final. Maybe you've also got feelings about, I don't know, Copa América or any transfers that we've seen out there. Let us know how you're feeling. Drop us a message in the chat. Today is our big Euro 2025 final preview show. So we're, of course, going to be discussing all things England and Spain. But before we get to it, I just want to let everybody know that Attacking Third has been nominated yet again for People's Choice Award for Best Female Hosted Podcast. And we need your help to reach the finals. All you have to do is go and register to vote at podcastawards.com/app/sign up. And once you do, go ahead and hit that drop down menu for Best Female Hosted Podcast. And you can select Attacking Third. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Hopefully it takes you less than a minute, maybe 30 seconds if you're really good at the internets. And go ahead and do us that favor because we appreciate all of your love and support. And of course, for always having our back and being in our corner and tapping into the shows and joining us and hearing everything that we have to say, whether it's coherent or not, or funny or not. You're always here to be here for us. So we appreciate y'all. And I'm happy to be here with my co-host here. I'm thrilled. We got Jen Beattie back in the mix. I gotta start with you. How are you, Jen? Because I know you've been busy with these Euros. How have you been?
I'm good. I couldn't say though. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time zone I'm on, but long story short, I'm so happy to finally be in Zurich, in Switzerland, and actually seeing games live. So it's been an awesome tournament so far. Really happy that England have made the final, right? Loads of my mates will be playing in it, and I can't wait for it on Sunday. So yeah, it's been so busy, but I'm loving it. It's been like such a class tournament, and being at Germany, Spain last night as well was just epic. So but I'm excited to be on the Attacking Third. I've missed that. I feel like I've missed you guys. So
yeah, not to be biased, but I've definitely been like, Jen B's been crushing it on these calls. I was like, my colleague has been crushing it on these calls, like 100%. Kelly, you've been crushing it too. I've been so excited to work with you here on A3 and appreciate everything you got to offer us on the show. How have you been since we literally just saw each other like hours ago? It feels like.
Yeah, we did. I was like, went into extra time, so the time between us working together got even shorter from yesterday to today, but it's been really fun having these game reactions. Now we're about to talk about the final preview, which I'm pumped on. The Euros have not disappointed. We've been so blessed as soccer fans this month getting to watch these games, so it's been a joy.
Cupo, ready to hop into this?
I'm always ready. Let's do it. I don't sleep. I just steady stream, eyelids taped open, football. Let's go.
Nothing like watching a dozen hours of soccer a day. It's
definitely not changing the chemistry of my brain. I'm definitely very, very happy. This is all very real.
Yeah, everyone's fine and hydrated. We're doing great. Look, and we're amped. We're amped to talk about the final. We've got England versus Spain, folks. Who could have predicted that two of the hottest teams in Europe would meet in the final for the 2025 Euro? But hopefully we get ourselves a real treat here because these two teams have navigated this tournament pretty much as co-favorites, maybe depending on the match day, head-to-head. Maybe they were edging out the other at certain points, but for the most part, a lot of folks have said it's probably going to come down to these two. And here we go. We've got Lionesses versus La Roja. We've got England versus Spain. Let's start a little bit with maybe what either side has to do to get the best of the other. Because if they've been navigating this competition as co-favorites, I have to imagine, Jen, that the margins between these two teams are very thin or practically virtually non-existent. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of this game is it's a World Cup final rerun again, right? And they've played each other as well recently, not as recently as February. I think England beat them 2-1. But look, the margins are so small. England have not performed to their capacity, I don't think, in my opinion, this entire tournament. They got off to a really tricky start against France, but look, we all know Group D was the hardest group. It was group of death, but they still got out of it. And I think that two things, the best things that could have happened to them was losing to France and then coming second, so they're on the other side of the draw. But they've still managed to just get all the way to the final without playing to their full capacity. But I think if England can do anything out of this game to beat Spain, they have to take a leaf out of Germany's book. I thought the way Germany played last night, they were so unlucky not to get the job done. It's going to take a complete defensive, solid game for 90 minutes and just hope that your forward players, when they get on the ball, which is literally what Germany did. I honestly thought they were so unlucky. And it was a moment of masterclass from Bonmati. But overall, I thought Alexia Putellas was quiet. Bonmati was quiet. Obviously, she popped up when needed to, but it's an awesome final. I can't wait for it. I'm excited to see what you guys think, how it's going to be tactically, but I think it's going to be really tactically similar to what we saw last night with Germany versus Spain in terms of how teams will line up, how teams will play, in terms of how they'll press, how they'll dominate the ball. Really, really similar. I think England just need to do what Germany did. I'm pretty sure Kelly agrees with me on this one. Do similar to how that one went, but just do it better.
Just do it better
Yeah.
is kind of a big ask, Beattie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
That's what
we're
we need.
looking at, my prediction is we're going to have a really tough watch. It's going to be tactically negating because you have England who are going to try to work that counter. They're going to need to really be master disruptors for Spain, which we've seen other teams do pretty well. But Spain, if you let them just play their style of ball and contain them, and that's, again, a big ask, half of your battle's done. The other is goal scoring. And I feel like we've seen two very different faces to this Lioness squad, this tournament all in. They got kind of a cold start. And now we're seeing these weird, play to the end and then magical moments, which I am going to classify them as magical because if you have to keep calling on Agyemang and Chloe Kelly in the 80th plus minute or 119th minute and things like that, that's a wild strategy, my friend. That's a wild, wild strategy.
Shout out to Dennis Wayne in the chat who says that Spain's going to score 4 goals. England will be awarded 6 PKs and then they will win 5-4. I can't imagine it goes down like that, Kelly. What do you got for England in this one?
No, I don't think they're going to get awarded 6 PKs. I think they got their one gimme PK in that semifinal match against Italy. But, I have England at the beginning of this tournament. I chose England to go all the way, and I'm still going to ride with them. I'm going to pull for them in this final purely based on the fact that I want my pick to win. But I do agree with Cupo and Jen and both of what they said. I think it's going to be a chess match, and I think it might be tough. I think that England needs to for sure watch that Germany-Spain game and figure out exactly what Germany did and just say copy and paste. I think that they just have to be better finishing on their counterattack because I think that's probably going to be their best chance of getting some goals on Spain. But again, you have Agyemang and you have Kelly coming off the bench. To me, the most dynamic duo in the tournament. Kubo, you're like, I can't believe they keep relying on them. But the reality is it's working and might as well, right? Like if England can go out and put together a disruptive, disciplined, defensive game and then wait for their moments to take advantage of this Spain team because Spain is susceptible on the counter and defensively. They got a chance, man. So I'm going with England.
I don't disagree, Kelly. I just think that, like, for me, my personal risk appetite, that gets nervy for me toward the end if you're saving it because you're banking a lot. Yeah, like I am more of a get in early, score the goal, not necessarily lock it down, but like get yourself a little bit more comfortable where it's not 0-0. You're looking down the pipe at penalties, which have been historically atrocious this Euros. We have 17 combined in match and then also shootout misses. I don't want to go down that road again, especially not in a Euros final.
Okay, but Kuba, were you nervous watching Germany last night in that same respect? Because I felt secure watching them. Thinking they're solid.
You know what? I think it's situational. That's a good point, Beattie. I think that they looked like they were starting to sit in more comfortably. And so for me, that garnered a little bit more trust where I was like, okay, that might be their game. But when you're looking at the other side of the coin and you expect a more dominant, organized England squad, I think my expectation of them is higher. They shouldn't have to be sitting it out. Essentially, yes. Is it a sometimes paint drying, chess match, sure. But I feel like given the talent that they have, that shouldn't have to be the strategy. It should be a lever you can pull. And I feel like this tournament, we've seen them repeatedly do that. And if that's how Sarina needs to see matches out, I'll question a little bit of her managerial guys at this point.
I think she's
Yeah.
sticking to her guns. I'm
Yeah.
able
I
to
mean,
hear
listen,
what Wiegman had to
if you're
say
going
on
to do
her.
it, go in, go out, right? But I
Yeah,
feel like show that you can be a little bit nimble. Show that
of
this squad
course.
have teeth. You know they do.
I think that she's leaning into it a little bit. I think Wiegman's leaning into it a little bit. Got to hear what she had to say post game in that semifinal. I mean, she even used the word like relief, like she's a human, just like her players are. That it was a tough match, and said like, yeah, like relief is one of the things that I absolutely feel right now. And she's aware of like maybe some of the criticism that's come her way about the late game subs, or maybe how they could be viewed as like lack of adjustment. But she said we sub to win, and I thought that was pretty like bold. And I think if that is part of their game plan, it had, like to Kelly's point, it's working right now, and of course, like I said, coach, like she like re-emphasized the fact that like it's about everybody kind of understanding their role, and that's their responsibility as the coaching staff to make sure that the players understand those roles going in. But I am curious about, because both of these teams now are going into this final off of extra time. So there's that layer to it as well. Like there's maybe not going to be that sort of thing like, oh, there's an advantage of fatigue here. Like both of them are coming in on really intense kind of games that needed extra time to determine a winner. And I think if you're England, there's other things within that maybe we're going to keep an eye on as well. Like Wiegman during this press conference also confirmed that halftime substitution for Beth Mead to come on in was because of Lauren James's ankle issue, that it was an injury related sub. They went ahead and noted it and said, we have to make a change. Let's go ahead and do this. So there will be some question marks, around that for England. Is there an advantage for a team here as far as like they both went on extra time here? Someone's going to feel worse one way or the other. Is that something that is one of those levels that like makes things even for a team like this, Cupo?
I mean, you're going into this to win it. Like, I don't think that anybody has any intention otherwise. I just think it's an interesting dynamic how we've come into this tournament. And there were conversations about at least 7 England players having just returned to fitness or questionably fit, making this deep run. I think that this is absolutely, including Germany, is a tournament that's displayed resounding amounts of resilience, that you've seen these squads haven't wavered. That includes Spain. That includes with Karakoy coming into this tournament, not being able to play with strep throat, with Bonmati overcoming bacterial meningitis, which honestly is absolutely insane. That's not like a little tiny thing. Uh, Bacterial meningitis lingers in the form of fatigue and muscle soreness in ways that she shouldn't even be able to play at this elite stage at this point. So we're kind of defying logic, physics, and a lot of things at this juncture. I think that, yeah, we're going to get a lot of weathered bodies. I'm wondering if some of the injuries, like in LJ, who has quite frankly overperformed expectations, with her being a massive question mark coming into Euros, is that going to change Wiegman's plans, right? Does that change some of her substitution plans? Does that change? Because I feel like we haven't seen yet the best out of some of that England squad, like Kira Walsh and some of those other players that have kind of gone quiet, or not necessarily gone quiet, but that other squads know to fear enough to keep them quiet.
I'm curious how
Same.
that shift will work. I think it's
Yeah.
important that you're kind of noting like positional areas on the pitch, because like when I'm even based on these semifinals, where I think we are all like in agreement that like Putellas maybe had a quieter semifinal, but ultimately that doesn't matter because there's a Bonmati and a Patri who had an incredible game in mid for Spain versus England, where they have been struggling a little bit in that area. Jen, for you, is there a particular positional area on this pitch that you are looking for this game to kind of play out and be the difference maker?
Yeah, I mean, I think you named it there. The midfield for me, I think, again, I'll look at Germany just because it's fresh in my head from watching it last night. But I thought Sensa, Menga stepping into the midfield and adding that little extra layer of protection in front of the back line, they matched their midfield. To say that a midfield can keep 2 Ballon d'Or winners quiet in a semi-final of a Euro, like that says a lot for Germany's midfield. They completely won the physical battle. And if I can look at Stanley, Toon, Walsh, you know, you're up against top quality, and they're more, you talk about them from more a technical standpoint, not really a physical, but that's what they need to match in order for this game to play out. And then, of course, you'll look at the left side of their defense, right? Alex Greenwood moved out on that side. Esme Morgan's come in. Will Wiegman move towards that, because we all know that the wingers, Caldente, on whether she's played outside winger or moving more central, or Vicky Lopez, whoever comes into the game, just have so much quality. And I think most teams have looked at that side for England and kind of realized, okay, they're not natural left backs, and can we utilize that to our strength? So, but midfield for me will always be a key matchup, because that's where Spain love to create the overloads. You have to be so aware of who's coming central, what the rotations are. So center of the pitch, that's what Germany have done so well. They kept everything wide. They let the centre backs have the ball. They let it in the wide areas, and they shifted across really quick. Whenever anything came central, they were ready to go be physical, force them backwards. They didn't let them creep further and further forward. They didn't allow the rotations to move them out of position. So it's those matchups for me, which will be a massive final for England and Spain.
Yeah, Kelly.
Sandra, I got something. So at looking at how these two teams line up based on what they lined, England lined up in the semifinal, Spain in their semifinal. I'm really interested, and I think if Spain is smart, they're going to attack England's right side. And that's not because Lucy Bronze isn't fantastic or Leah Williamson isn't fantastic. They're both fantastic players. Leah Williamson is potentially on a bad ankle. Lucy Bronze taping up her quad in the quarterfinal and loves to fly forward. So if I'm Spain, I'm going up their right side. I'm having Putellas just hang out right in front of Bronze and Williamson. Esther's running either offside, backside shoulder off of Williamson, or making these cheeky little breaking runs, breaking lines in behind. And Carmona, Peanut, shifts inside. Carmona comes on the outside. To me, if they can take advantage of the right side, and in a question mark around, is Lauren James starting? Is she not? Are we going to see Beth Mead? Lauren James, I wouldn't say loves to get back and defend as much. So if I'm Spain, I'm going up their right side, and I'm shifting, and I'm trying to find that numerical overload on that side and take advantage of some of the question marks that I think England has on that side based on injury, based on loading. So yeah, I'm interested to see that little chess match on that side.
Yeah, for sure. I am curious if maybe some of the arguments around England and their high dramatic finishes has been about the fact that it's this is because of these slow starts maybe that they're having. And I do wonder if maybe those slow starts can work to Spain's benefit, a team that likes to have possession, a team that just wants to kind of maybe pass around or pass through. We'll see how it goes. So I like that you're already kind of locking in on some of those opportunities for Spain, but you've got England in this one. So if they are England, is it about just trying to negate as much as possible in that middle third? Does Bronze have to be more of a supporting role to her midfielders in this one, you think?
Yeah, I mean, she's got to, again, Lucy Bronze is one of the best outside backs in the world, and she's got to pick and choose her times to go. She scored a goal in, it was the Sweden game, right? The quarterfinal game. So it's she gets forward, she gets into the opposition's box a lot. But for her in this game, I think, again, they have to take a page out of Germany's book. And Germany was very disciplined in their 4-5-1 when they sat, when Spain had clear control of the ball. They let them have that control. They didn't let them come centrally. They made them go on the outside. They pushed their 7 and 11 a little high out of the 5 of that midfield defensively. So I think for Lucy Bronze, she's just got to pick and choose. She's got to be smart, and she knows how to do that. And I have no doubt that she will. So.
Right on. All right. Well, it wouldn't be attacking third if we didn't, make a prediction and have fun with it. And I don't know. I think I want to remix this one a little bit. Usually we'll just go with a team and a score line. This time, maybe just give me the team that you think is going to take this, and the player that's going to have the most impactful game for her squad. So maybe it's I'm going to give you guys time to think. So I'll go ahead and put myself on blast and go first. I feel like a lot of
there you go, Sandra.
I feel like a lot of folks are riding high on England right now. I'm a free agent in this one, so I was
Love it.
very much just listening to everyone's case here, amongst my co-hosts, because unfortunately I had Germany as my sleeper pick to go ahead and win this whole thing. They are out. So I'm open to whoever. I gotta say, with some of the things that I'm hearing on this one, it's giving more England for me, but there's something about this Spain side I think that they're doing very, very special. I think we can all agree England has that dog in them right now, but Spain has had to kind of slay some dragons along the way too. And one of them was a German side, a national team in their history that they have not beaten. And they now have that under their belt as well. And I think they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. It's almost like they want this Euro title in a way that was different from the World Cup. It sort of felt like that World Cup win almost came out of spite, or in spite of the things that were happening, alongside with the coaching staff. And this one, it just is an opportunity for them to just go out there and perform and be the team that they want to be. So I'm going to go with Spain in this one. And I think that this absolutely has to be the game that Alexia Putellas makes a statement, because you cannot have a semifinal where you were that quiet or near invincible and then have the opportunity to go into this final and not back that up. And she said to start off this tournament, she doesn't care about a Ballon d'Or. She wants to win this Euro. So I need Spain to take it, and I need Putellas to have a big game. Who wants to follow up?
I mean, fine. I think, despite some of my rooting interests, and not because I'm still mad about Italy, but I'm going to go Spain.
Fair.
Only because this is one of the last trophies they haven't won. And so I feel like eyes on the prize now. They're going to lock it in. I think that they've had some lessons this tournament. And I think that, I mean, it's not impossible for England to do, but I think we will get a long, drawn out affair. I think that as long as Spain can manage not to get fatigued beyond, I'd say, like the 35th minute, because we start to see them slow down a little bit and then kind of try to kick themselves in the butt to keep going. I think they could manage to see this out.
All right, we got 2 for Spain. Kelly, are you the combo breaker still?
I'm going with who I chose from the beginning. I'm loyal, baby. Let's go. England's winning 2-1. Esther's getting a goal. She's winning Golden Boot of this tournament. She's also winning Golden Boot in NWSL for Gotham, but we'll see more of that later in the season. But we're going to have an Alessio Russo goal. We're going to have a Michele Agyemang goal, because I think that Russo was very quiet in the semifinals, and I would like to see her score in the final, turn up a little bit, and then obviously get the cheat code off the bench, plug her in there, let her do what she does. And I think we're going to go 2-1, and it's going to be a late goal from England.
All right, take us home, Jen. Who you got?
I'm going England again, guys. I'm going to go for a tight, obviously, low-scoring goal. It's going to be a Kira Walsh assist for me with a Lauren Hemp 1-0 game, I think.
Nice.
I think Kira Walsh is going to be so key with finding those counter-attacking passes. She's got the vision to do it. Seen it so many times. And even from a defensive perspective, she's going to be so key, covering the channels, making sure centre-backs can stay central. 1-0 England.
All right. Well, the true combo breaker is the chat, because of course we ran a poll as soon as I threw it out there to y'all. And believe it or not, the people believe that Spain are going to take this one, not by a landslide, but a pretty good chunk. 65% of our pollsters say that Spain is going to take this one, compared to 34% in England. But we're split in terms of the panelists. So, we'll be right back here to talk about the winner and who was right, who was wrong, all that and more. Make sure you tap back into that on Sunday. But stick around, because we've got more for you here on Attacking Third. We're going to talk about the summer transfer window right after a quick break. All right, we are back at Attack and Third, chatting all things Women's Super League summer transfer window. There's a couple teams kind of making some impressive moves, and we're gonna chat about a few of them here. Time for me, but I think we need to start, Cupo, here with this pretty big transfer in Olivia Smith, breaking records.
Big is not the
Found it.
word. Okay, this like shakes the table, changes the global just mercado for women's football all in. I am shook. I'm like, oh, we're in the seven digits. Okay. This is insane. And the fact that it wasn't Chelsea that did it is kind of shocking to me too. But like, hey, go on. Come on, you Gunners. She's got creativity. She's young, she's scrappy, she's really talented. This is super exciting. This kind of changes a lot of things. But the fact that Liverpool were like, okay, yeah, we can part with her is also insane. Like I would have gripped tight too. So fantastic early piece of transfer market business, in my opinion. Beattie, what do you think about this Liv Smith deal?
I mean, for that price tag for a young player, can I also just say was huge? Normally, that kind of price tag has gone to like a, very established, older senior player. So to see that kind of price tag go to like a 20-year-old was, I think, an even bigger statement. But no, she was absolutely incredible in the FA Cup when they knocked out Arsenal. Like she was up against Katie McCabe and just did so well. So no, and that's what you have to do when you're at a lower league team ranked in the tier. When you play against the higher teams, you got to perform, and that's what she did. She stood out by a country mile, and they've obviously signed Taylor Hines as well. So it's obviously been quite a fair business between Arsenal and Liverpool. But no, she's an awesome talent, and look, that's exactly the kind of depth that I think Arsenal probably needed. Now they're very stacked in the forward line with Chloe Kelly, Beth Mead, and Alessia Russo in the front line. So there's multiple one-on-one players, but I think they still needed more depth in that front line because you never know injury-wise and what can happen. But big price tag, young player, and now she needs to live up to it, right? Now it's the pressure. Now you've got that name tag. But I think you're right in terms of business with Liverpool. What they can do with that money now will go far. And that's the thing with women's football. You can really buy a couple of players now with that kind of price of bringing it in.
We can buy a second midfield.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about letting go of your best player.
Around.
When they're seen with that kind of price tag is obviously too hard to say no to.
So Arsenal's a team on the move, making moves. I mean, we're leading with them in this segment for a reason. But it also, I mean, we're coming off of this just talking about the Euro final and the things that we're going to see there. And we've seen Michele Agyemang do incredible things for the Lionesses. And I think that presents that question. Does a player like this coming off of this incredible tournament, does that mean she stays at Arsenal? Or does it just mean that her star and her stock is that much brighter, Kelly?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be about, right now she's filling a role for the Lionesses of coming off the bench, being a game changer, playing those 15 minutes of the final 90 and then, playing extra time because they've had to play a lot of extra time. And she's done incredibly well, right? She has saved this England side a couple times, which is crazy. But now, getting back into club season, it'll be about, can she do this? And can she be that type of player, a 90-minute player? Can she be a starter and still be putting up these goals and these magical moments and creating in the way that she is? And that remains to be seen. But I think that, if Agyemang, you're coming off of an incredible, no matter how the final goes, you're going into this season with a lot of confidence, and hopefully that she can bring to the Arsenal side and build on that and, go from being a game changer to potentially being a consistent starter. She has a lot of competition in that forward line, like Jen touched on. But then the other question is, does a team try to snatch her up and get her on their side? So I'm really excited to just watch how this plays out because she has been such a fantastic player to watch this Euros.
Cupo, we know you've got a particular rooting interest in Arsenal. What do you want to see them do? Do you
Is it because they've got her feet above my head? Is that it? Is that the tell?
It's a little tip.
You're a bigger fan than me. So.
You know, I won't flip the camera around and show you like the little signed kit that I have that was gifted from the squad, but whatever. No, I think that Arsenal, we have seen a lot of youth come through there and they've been super talented. We have seen some slip through their fingers and it's been unfortunate. You see them flip around the other side and you're like, damn, they're so good. What happened? And I would be remiss if Agyemang ended up being a player like that. But with that being said, it speaks to, are we looking for Arsenal to add another depth component when you've already made a big transfer in sort of this attack? And I guess that would be the yes there, right? Because we can't assume that Agyemang, who has put in an excellent bit of work this Euros, would slot in as a starter. But I feel like that could be the catalyst for some good friendly competition where you get maybe a little bit more productivity out of some key players that we usually rely on to be the main primary shooters.
Yeah.
I don't know. Beattie, do you think there is any world in which they just let her go entirely, or we just maybe see her go out on another loan at like worst case scenario?
Yeah, this is the thing with young player. I can't see them letting her go. I think the fans would be absolutely gutted now that she's kind of like, I read somewhere that her actual name means savior of the nation, like Agyemang. Like, it's just how you can't let her go. You just can't. So I don't think we'll see that happening. But whether ultimately, look, we've touched on it already. There's so much competition in Arsenal's front line, and we've seen her fulfill the role of what she's doing. But in order for these young players to go get minutes and really develop their game with what they need to week in, week out, I could potentially see both sides. Whether I don't think they'll sell her, whether they put her out on another loan, I think that might be more likely just so she can get the game minutes, and I think she'll understand that as well. But I don't think they'll let her go. I think she's been absolutely phenomenal. I was academy ambassador in my last couple of years at Arsenal, and she was a kid in the academy, and not just the talent, she had the humility, intelligence, like just incredible. And so to see her go on and do what she's doing now, she's just deserves it all the talent, but the attitude, everything to go along with it.
Can you imagine the headline? Like, Arsenal lets savior of the nation go. Like,
damn, bro. My takeaway is my parents named me wrong. I needed more job security in my name. Like, Christine is not adequate.
Yeah.
Like, we could have done better, people. We could have done better.
Jeez. Come on, parents. It always falls back on them. All right. Arsenal's not the only team making moves and making headlines. No. Speaking of Lionesses, we got to talk about London City Lionesses because they are making some pretty interesting moves. They got promoted. They're like, we got to get right for making this promotion count. They went ahead and got Danielle Van de Donk, then Nikita Paris as well. Maybe this isn't too surprising when we're looking at some of the resources that are coming into this team and who they're being poured into by. Because Michele Kang, this is one of the Michele Kang teams, and Michele Kang typically gets a team and wants to make moves and make sure that these teams are in positions to succeed. And Kelly, you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I definitely do. Whenever Michele Kang comes up, I'm like, she means business. I remember when we sat in a little DC restaurant and she had a conversation with me about, her aspirations and her reason for getting into or wanting to own the Spirit. And, not just that, she wanted to be global. And you can see that she follows through on what she says she's going to do. And London City Lionesses is an example of that. And the moves that they've made in this offseason, them getting promoted and then some of these signings just shows that she means business. And when she says she's going to do something, she does it. And I think that if I'm any of the other WSL clubs, I'm looking at this and being like, we got to keep an eye on London City because I think that they're putting together a very strong squad.
100%. I think they're doing exactly what Crystal Palace didn't. Like they're putting hands in their pocket, and I think they're going for experience. They already had Kosas Lani, Sofia Jakobsen, but bringing in players like Danielle Van de Donk and Nikita Paris who know the league so well. Danielle Van de Donk obviously had a really long spell at Arsenal. Nikita Paris, Arsenal, Man United, now Brighton. Like she's been at a lot of clubs, so they know the league, and I think that's why I love that. Right, they've gone down. She's gone down very much. No, we're doing this and we're doing it properly, and going for experience. So I 100% agree with Kelly. They're going to be the team where everyone's going to look at and almost not know what to expect as well. Right, they're new in the league. You don't have anything to go off last season. Yeah, they were playing season below. So with teams already in the league and make big signings, you can kind of get a judge of how they're going to improve or be better. But when they're new in the league and signing all these signings, no one knows to expect. So they're for sure one of the teams to watch. They're chasing a title.
To Jen's point, Cupo, like that narrative has always kind of existed for Women's Super League. Like we had made some running jokes in last campaign about it. I was like over here making a bold prediction. I'm like, come on, Crystal Palace, like give me that one win. Right? And they just like.
I think, not that I want to be the A3 wet blanket of the day for this transfer market, but I think that when we look at everything holistically, like former consultant Brian, okay, like me and Michele Kang came from the same world, oddly enough. She is a brilliant businesswoman, and what she's doing and pulling these levers for London City Lionesses, for Washington Spirit, for Lyon, is all of the right business moves and investments. And it's what teams should be doing, right? But when we look at the broader conversations that we've had here about parity in WSL, how do we improve competition levels? How do we see all of these teams thrive? They're tied to their men's sides. When the men's sides fail, the first women to take a hit are the women. So how do we fix this? And then you look at somebody like a Crystal Palace who get promoted and don't have the investment or support behind them to actually thrive in a first division team. And I think that with that, the extra fold now is we're starting to see, and what we look back to the last transfer window, and Girma was the biggest transfer story, right? That was a record breaking, and now we're into 7-digit transfer fees. So I think we're starting to steer very quickly into a lot of precarious waters that we're seeing in the men's game, where how do you maintain and keep up that spending when there already is this conversation existed in this ecosystem about how do we compete? How do we even compete? But now you have powerhouses like Chelsea, Arsenal getting in the mix, Liverpool, which will certainly be a talking point, and you still have that whole bottom to mid part of the table that are going to be fighting for their lives. So I think it's going to be interesting what we see change in terms of the women's football landscape as we move forward from this, because this is just the start.
Yeah, they don't look or feel like just your kind of regular, like recently promoted squad. Michele Kang is making sure that people understand that around this team. So I'm very excited to see what other moves might still happen or how they're going to compete once the season does gear up. But Arsenal, London City, not the only teams making moves. Jen, Man City's making some moves as well. They got a pretty good one here in Monveni. I was wondering if you could let the people know to watch out for this player.
Yeah, no, like, so first of all, just to get Sydney Lohman in the chat as well, top player from Bayern Munich, midfielder for doesn't get as many minutes for Germany, but I still think her physicality will work really well in the WSL. And then for me, I remember watching Switzerland early on in the group games and thinking, who is this kid, Iman Benet? I'd never heard of her, ignorantly from my perspective. She was 18, but suddenly was just performing at outside back. And I was like literally thinking, I think I was watching one of the first or second group games thinking big club's going to get her up. Obviously looked on Instagram, who's done it? Man City. So that for me, she stood out by a country mile, I think at 18, to kind of be performing on a big stage at a Euro for Switzerland, host country. You had the whole nation behind you, but she was not just her work rate, getting up and down from box to box, but her technical ability, defensive attributes. She's pretty slight in nature, but still super strong. And for me, I was like, okay, that is an awesome signing for Man City. I was very, very excited to watch her in the WSL because she's still so young. She's got a huge career ahead of her, but she stood out massively for me for Switzerland. So Iman Benet, watch out.
Watch out. It's been a quite a summer. Euros, we've got summer transfer conversations, and we've got women's AFCON happening. We've got Copa América Femenina happening as well. We're gonna chat a little bit about that before we say farewell to you all. So stick around after a quick break. Welcome back to Attacking Third. We're going to do a little quick check-in on Copa América Femenina and pay a little bit of honor to a legend who's going to be celebrated recently. But let's start with Copa América. We've got a final match day coming up. These summer tournaments are starting to wrap up. We've checked in throughout Copa América as it started. And unfortunately, we've also had to do check-ins that pertain to playing conditions or lack thereof and trainings and things like that. We've had to spotlight Brazilian players who have taken it upon themselves to be that kind of vocal component. And then we've had to check in on the very, very bare minimums that the organizers kind of conceded, which I think was just like 15 minutes of time on the pitch. So still not enough, right? So we've had some complex check-ins with Copa América, but with this one, with teams having already kind of stamped their way into semifinals, we want to try to make sure that we are checking in on the actual competition and the national teams themselves. Brazil and Argentina already through to the semis. Not going to lie, that was a little bit of a surprise for me. I wasn't too sure how Argentina was going to be in this one, but they're making some statements along the way. So we'll see where they end up playing. But they already got a place alongside Brazil and Cupo. While they haven't exactly, Colombia is, let's just say, maybe on the verge of finding a place in the semifinal. Is there any reason to doubt that they won't be there?
No, I think they're pretty much a lock. I think between Caicedo and Ramirez work this Copa, I think they're fairly safe. I think we keep seeing this sort of Colombia side that's just kind of like ready to launch, but we haven't really seen them kind of get catapulted into that sort of area of, oh, they're a guaranteed team, we can rely on something, they're consistent. I think that they've been toying with it for a few years now, but I think that that just shows progress. But coming into a Copa America that is, quite frankly, Brazil's tournament to lose, they're the queens of Copa América Femenina. So I think the tournament's getting more exciting for sure. Absolutely. But like Argentina, to your point, definitely my dark horse of this tournament. The last time that they actually beat Brazil was one time in 2006. But I think that if there's like an overarching theme for this summer of women's soccer, it's that all of these sort of FAs and teams that have gotten investment and some sort of stabilization domestically. So we saw Italy make a deep run. We've seen Morocco now in AFCON with their second straight final. That's the same story with Argentina. Since they sort of implemented more solid domestic leagues, they've continued to improve and quietly. So yeah, they've come onto the scene. I think that makes Copa America more interesting.
I know it's like still early days. It's still group games, right? So it's like not many games being played. But Sandra, who would you say your dark horse is, or who's impressed you most so far in the tournament?
Yeah, it was interesting kind of like looking ahead to Copa America a little bit, because even though you have all these like really fun national teams repping CONMEBOL and South America, they're like broken down into like just two groups, right? It's like six teams in two groups. So it's like, who's really going to be the dark horse in like these kind of bigger, chunkier sized groups? But you never know what like a host nation is going to do or how they'll be motivated to play, after receiving that honor. So Ecuador was a team that I had my eye on, but also like honestly Venezuela within these groups. I thought with some of their roster, like who are the players that are going to like step up, show out when they have to. And I think they did. They made a little bit of a statement themselves in that early run against Colombia. I mean, maybe folks are gonna like downplay it a little bit, like, oh, it was just a scoreless draw. But I think if you're looking at the co-favorite of that group with Brazil and Colombia in the mix, if you're a Venezuelan side that steals a point from one of the co-favorites, like that's absolutely an impressive feat, and it keeps you alive for the remainder of the group play. So I'm hopeful that Venezuela at the very least can go ahead and kind of end out with like another statement with good play, with the exciting play. I mean, they had they've had the ability to get like a large amount of goals, and they did that against a more depleted kind of Bolivia side. But I think it'll be tough for them to try to say that they could have gone through to the semifinal, considering they were in a group with Brazil and Colombia. But I don't think that means that they didn't have opportunities in front of them to make statements along the way. And I think that they have. So I've been pleased with them as a little bit of a dark horse. But we'll see who's gonna take it out. Like Colombia is yet to go ahead and clinch that semi spot, but they're well on their way to doing that. There's still a match day that's going to happen for the group stage. And as far as favorites, I mean, you can't deny Brazil. It's hard to deny what they've been doing once again in a Copa América and in the conditions in which they have brought to light that they're training in. And I think maybe that is also sort of the final tidbit on this Copa América. I think when we're talking about it in a larger scope of what's been going on this summer, we've had an amazing Euros tournament where we were celebrating, a record-setting amount of goals in the group stage, right? And we're celebrating these incredibly intense knockout round matches. And we even had like women's AFCON that we touched on, where we were excited to see Nigeria get back into the final, and maybe they're gonna like reestablish that dominance in women's AFCON. And you've got Copa America that's like unfortunately had headlines for opposite reasons. So not only is it, for what Brazil has brought to light as far as the struggles in having areas to train, but this is also a tournament that doesn't have like VAR. Like these are little things that they don't have, that you don't see those resources for this tournament. So I'm high on Brazil. I think they're going to take it again, and I am hopeful that in future Copa América Femeninas that we'll see some more resources for this type of tournament, because it's supposed to be one of the 3 big tournaments in women's soccer this summer. Something else we want to celebrate before we bow and say farewell to everybody. Portland Thorns have announced that Christine Sinclair will be the first player inducted into the club's Hall of Fame, known as the Thorns Hall of Fame. There's going to be a celebration that is slated for October 4th during the home match against Bay FC. And this is no small-time player by any means. If there is a player who is to be celebrated by the Thorns in NWSL, it is 100% Christine Sinclair. 12 years as a Thorns player, has 3 NWSL championships, 2 NWSL Shields, a 2021 Challenge Cup, 79 goals, the most in club history. This is a player that absolutely left an impact on the pitch for club and for a very, very, very long time. I think, Kelly, I'd like to get your perspective on this, because there are players in this league who have seen where NWSL started and maybe saying their farewells in a time where they're watching the league step into a new era with still more work to do, but at the very least trying to take those steps. You are no stranger to going up against Sinclair. What does it mean to see players who have been around and that the streets will never forget sort of get these honors as the league continues to grow?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible for Christine Sinclair to get this honor, and it's very rightfully deserved. That graphic that you put up, I was like, it's insane, her stats and what she was able to achieve as a Portland Thorn. I was lucky enough to get to play with her at Gold Pride FC in the Bay Area in the WPS days, but then I had to unfortunately play against her all of my NWSL days, and those were not days that I enjoyed. Sometimes I did, got the better end of things, but no, she's just an incredible player, absolutely phenomenal for Thorns, and it's really cool that they're going to honor her in this way, as they should.
I want to just say, like, one of my favorite things, maybe off of the pitch for Sinclair, has been from all of the incredible support out there in the Thorns. We know how iconic the Rose City Riveters are. And I believe in one of the many times where that city has had to host an NWSL championship final, the community has rallied around really cool celebratory things. And I remember receiving like a really nice kind of resin keychain, and it said GOAT on it, but it was a moose. And so I loved that. That's one of my favorite sort of off pitch kind of admiration type of memories of Christine Sinclair. Anyone else want to pay homage to Sinclair before we wrap it up?
I just think legend gets like kind of used a lot in football, right? But she is one that is well and truly deserved. She's not just legend of Portland, Canada. She has done phenomenal work in the game for such a long period of time, also at the top. And very few players can do that. So credit to her, all deserved. I couldn't agree more with Kelly. Reading the accolades, I was just like in awe reading them all. I'm like, yeah. So awesome person, even better player. So credit to her.
I think one, it's really weird. It will never not be weird when players I've literally watched my entire life like fully retire, because I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's like, bye. But the plus here is that we've seen so many of those players move into other places within the game, and seeing her involvement with North American Super League as a co-owner of the Vancouver Rise, like it adds a little layer of comfort that somebody that has literally already built so much of the domestic women's product on her shoulders over the course of her lengthy career is able to implement something better for what should be ahead. And so, like, gratitude to her for that.
100%. Christine Sinclair, thank you for your service. We love watching what you're doing post-retirement as well in the NSL. You're growing the game, even off of the pitch. But that's it. That's a wrap for us here on Attacking Third. Don't worry. We're going to be right back here on Sunday, July 27th, right after the final whistle of England in Spain. You're going to be with Darian Jenkins. You're going to be with Lindsay, Michele Zerboni, Kelly O'Hara. They're going to break everything down. And I'm going to take a little break and just watch the game very, very nervously. But this was a blast. Loved everyone hanging out with us. If you like what you heard, go ahead and make sure to follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. We're available on youtube.com/Attacking Third. Catch us on the CBS Sports Golazo Network for all your women's football coverage. For our producers, Adri and Mark, Jen Beattie, Kelly O'Hara, Christine Cupo, I'm Sandra. This was Attacking Third. Thanks for